communication students. This is part one of 3 parts entitled Self and Communication. And the quote I opened up with really says a lot about how to become an effective communicator, which is really looking at self-concept, self-esteem, your perceptions of others, and some basic theory and ideas about self and growing in self in a positive way to really affect how you communicate outwardly. So that's where we're going to start today with this, and our goals for part one will be first to define what self-concept is and where does it come from. And I really want you to start thinking about what your self-concept is and how you view yourself. Next, we'll look at 2 important theories regarding self. We'll look at Cooley's looking glass self and the Johari window. And hopefully by understanding these, you'll have a better understanding of who you are, and it will affect your communication outwardly. We'll use these theories to talk a little bit about self-awareness and how to grow in self-awareness to better communicate. And lastly, the last part of this PowerPoint will be to define and examine self-esteem. What is it, and how do I create a healthier self-esteem, and how do I value myself? As we move through this, really think critically about who you are, your individuality, and how these ideas apply to you. I think that's where we get the most benefit from these screencasts, is how they apply to you. There'll be some questions for further thinking that you'll do at the end, and you'll go to the forum to do some writing at the end. And lastly, don't forget, take 2 column notes and 3 tweets using the hashtags. If you can write them down and then you can post them later. But again, engage with Twitter and also take 2 column notes. So what is self-concept? Self-concept is who you are and how you see yourself. Think of a big mixing bowl, and in that mixing bowl is your strengths, weaknesses, feelings, thoughts, physical traits, emotional traits, what you value, your beliefs, your abilities, your limitations. All these things here all go into this mixing bowl and really make up your self-concept. But more importantly, where does it come from? Our self-concept really comes from, first, others' images of you, and we'll talk about Cooley's looking glass self on the next slide. Next source of self-concept is your interpretations of the world and how you critique yourself and others. Social comparisons are also a source of self-concept. You know, when you get a test back, the first thing you do is look at your grade. The second thing you do is look over the shoulder of your neighbor to see how did they do and how do I compare to others in a similar context. So we do use social comparison to create a self-concept. And lastly, cultural teachings. Who's in your inner circle? We'll talk about significant others. What do the people around you tell you about who you are? Let's move to the looking glass self. This was a theory that was created by Charles Cooley in 1902. But more importantly, what is it? If we were to take a mirror and hold it up to ourselves, and from that mirror we saw how we looked through the eyes of others, that's one way we form self-concept. And it really says how we define ourselves in the context of socialization. So the mirror is how others see us, and the image of us that is revealed through other people's eyes. So there's a couple of questions that I put in here. One is the expectation of how should I look to others? And we do think about that. We think about what are the social expectations of how I should appear? And then the second question is, how are people judging or reacting to me? Again, what's going on around you? What are other people saying verbally or non-verbally about who you are? And this is how we develop a view of self from the socialized context. There's two groups of people that this happens with. First is the significant others, the people we love, our family, our boyfriends, girlfriends, the significant people in our lives. And then the generalized others, just the general population, people we meet on a regular basis, strangers, people we interact with. And all of these things we can learn a great deal about who we are and grow in self-awareness through that mirror of others in and around us. Moving on, let's look at the Johari Window. This was a theory created in the 1950s by two men, Joseph Luft and Harry Ingram, and they put their first names together to create Johari Window. And there's 4 quadrants to the Johari Window, and I'm going to be really careful with my mouse because I don't want to move the slide around. The first is, if you look at the columns, you see moving down, this is known to self, and the second column is unknown to self. Looking over here horizontally, known to others, and then down here, these quadrants, unknown to others. So let's look at the 4 panes, and the first is open window. As you can see, it falls into known to self and known to others. So open window is anything that I know about me that you know about me. And we could come up with a long list of anything that I've told you about me that you know about me. I'm a man. I'm a teacher. I am a Landmark College employee. I teach communication. I like to wear jeans. Anything about me. You know that I have a child. And so it's known to me, and I disclose it to others, and other people know it about me. That is the open self. Next is the blind self. Blind self is unknown to me, but known to others. And so they can be physical things, such as my shoes untied, I have bad breath, I have my fly is open. Again, we can kind of have some fun with this. I smell badly. But again, I am not aware of these things, but my audience is. And so again, you can see where the blind self connects with the looking glass self, where people would be reacting to me and who I am. They can also be, they don't have to be physical traits on the body, but they can also be subconscious traits. If you watch your presentation video, you might see that you had the leg kick going, or a tap on the desk, or some sort of nervous tick. And at the time, you probably weren't aware of it, but we as an audience could see it. So again, blind self, known to others, not known to self. Next window is the unknown self. The unknown self is really, I don't know it about me, and others don't know it about me. So how do we know things about ourselves that we don't know? And that's a good question, which is, where do we do self-discovery? And that's really what the unknown self is it's self-discovery. And how do you do that? You ask others, you experience the world, you try new things, you might talk with others about yourself. Therapy is a great way. When people engage it with a therapist or a counselor, they talk about themselves and make self-discoveries. So really, the unknown self is about making self-discoveries about strengths, challenges, who you are. That's a never-ending journey that we should all be on, is to continually learn more about ourselves and develop who we are as a self. And so that's the unknown window. Unknown to self, unknown to others. The last window is the hidden self. The hidden self, as it says in the quadrants, it's known to me, but unknown to others. So these are the things I don't tell anyone. These are the ideas that I keep hidden away. and do not discuss with anyone. So they would be my dirty little secrets, skeletons in the closet, anything that I decide to actively not share and disclose with others. And so the idea with the Johari window is to move items from these three panes, blind, unknown, and hidden, into the open window as much as you can. And, with regards to the hidden self, that's an area where you want to move some things in there into the open window, but maybe there's other things that's very healthy to keep hidden. And we won't get into examples, but the idea is for these three windows, if you're using this theory the way you should, is to make these three windows smaller and really increase the size of the open window and really be able to share things with self and others and be comfortable with sharing most everything. And obviously there are some things that we keep in the hidden window. But again, the idea is to make the open window large and the other three windows as small as possible. Moving on. So how do we grow in self-awareness? First of all, we have to listen to others. What do others say to us? What are they telling us? How do they react to us? I already said this in the last slide, but increase your open self through sharing. Healthy self-disclosure about who you are and what you do and your decisions, and be proud of who you are. Actively seek out information about yourself. Don't be afraid to ask. When I had a great time when I went back to my high school reunion, I asked people, what do you remember about me? What kinds of things, what kind of person was I back then? And you can ask people that, like, who am I? And seek out information about yourself to help you think more about yourself. Also, our critiques, the peer critiques, is part of that process. You're really asking your peers, who am I? And what can I do to grow and to improve and to become a better person? Next, dialogue with yourself honestly. Honestly say to yourself, who am I? What do I need to change? What do I not like about myself that I can do something about? What behaviors do I want to change? And what are my goals and aspirations? And how do I reach them? But having that honest dialogue with yourself is incredibly important to grow in self-awareness. Let's see, what do we have on this slide? Apparently, I repeated the slide. Let's look at self-esteem. And let's define what it is. Self-esteem is an active statement about valuing self. And what self-esteem is not, it's not mom esteem, it's not friend esteem, it's not parents esteem, boyfriend esteem, roommate esteem, dad esteem. It's none of these things, because it's an active statement about how one values self. And so social comparison is not part of self-esteem, and that's an important element that people seem to forget, that they think that their self-esteem should be based on social comparison, and it's really not. And so what goes into self-esteem? First of all, if you want to change and feel better about yourself, actively attack destructive beliefs or thoughts. Stop putting yourself down. Give yourself more credibility. The other thing is seek out positive, nourishing people. So, self-esteem really does develop from who's in our inner circle and who we interact with. Next, figure out what your strengths are and gear your life towards your strengths that will result in success. And, sometimes we have no choice. We have to do things that we're not good at. But overall, try to gear things towards projects that make you happy, that you can be successful in. And remind yourself of the successes that you have. We all have them every day. And as simple as they may be, but remind yourself of what you do and what you do right and what you do well. And that will help you feel better about yourself. Seek affirmation. I don't go overboard on this, but, it's nice to have people tell you that you did a good job. And so remember that not only from a receiver standpoint, but also from a sender standpoint. You see someone do something good, say thank you, say job well done, and that will help others improve how they feel about themselves. Overall, let's wrap up what we did. We looked at self-concept and where it comes from. We also talked about the looking glass self and the Johari window. We looked at self-awareness and how to grow and how that helps you become a better communicator. And then we defined and examined self-esteem a little bit. So next question is, how'd you do with notes and tweeting? Hope you did better and hope you're still working on improving those. Lastly, some questions to consider. First of all, in terms of self-concept, this first question is, make an extensive list of you. Strengths, challenges, physical traits, emotional traits, personal values, beliefs, irritants. And what I said in the forum is to choose 2 of these. So make a personal list of your self-concept. Make that mixing bowl, and you can put that down in the forum if you so choose. The next question is, how does Cooley's looking glass self affect you and affect how you communicate? So I'd like you to critically think about the looking glass self and maybe write about how it affects you in your communication. Excuse me. Also, what do we learn about self through the Johari window, and why is this theory useful to effective communication? So see if you can come up with a reason why the Johari window is effective to improving communication. And lastly, I said about the hidden self. Why do we protect the hidden self? What are the benefits and the challenges to having a great deal of information in that hidden window? So you can think about the pros and cons of the hidden self, and you can discuss that in the forum that's connected with this screencast. Thanks for part 1. It was a lot of fun to do, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I'll look forward to talking more about these ideas.